Hey there, what's up, Minnesota Vikings fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith. I am joined by one of the co-founders, one of my good buddies, Mr. Kyle West. How you doing, man?
I am a co-founder in something. Soon they will make a Netflix documentary about us.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
Actually, you know what? We don't even need to make a documentary. Just put us on Netflix. We'll do it. We'll do it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. We'll be the first podcast on Netflix, probably. Don't fact check that.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. It's Sunday. This is episode number 265 called Mitch Perfect. One of our good buddies to the show, Mr. Tommy Gunn, gave us this idea for the show title. So I like it, man. Good job, Tommy, because I usually struggle with coming up with the title names. I just watched Inglourious Bastards this weekend. Love that movie. And it reminded me of, when Brad Pitt's talking to the famous actress. It's like, all right, well, we'll just go in and say that we speak Italian. I'm the first best. Donnie's the second, and you're the third. And he's like, I don't speak Italian. He's like, that's why you're the third best.
Third best.
Yeah, that's me with the show titles, man. I rarely come up with a good one. So thanks, Tommy, for coming up with that. But yeah, we named this show, or I would say Tommy named it, but we went with the idea for this show after Mitch Leidner. We'll jump right in with some quick hits. If you guys didn't hear, the Vikings signed quarterback Mitch Leidner from the University of Minnesota. He's a Golden Gopher. And they released linebacker Darnell Sankey. Now, there's a lot of buzz on the internet because I always read the comments as soon as I see
people
some
hated
news.
it.
People hate it.
People hate the signing.
They hate the signing.
Oh my God.
We have, we need help with maybe kicker punt returner. We need help maybe a corner. We need help pretty much everywhere else, which is not totally untrue. But I think it's hilarious how upset people get when we sign a person and release someone else. Like, we're talking about practice squad members, and you're that upset about it. But it wouldn't be Viking fan fashion if they weren't upset about every single thing.
I understand the frustration. You can see other areas on the team that maybe you would like to view as more of an area of need. But also, let's break this down a little bit. Traditionally, the Vikings have always kept a quarterback on the practice squad. They currently only have 3 plus Teddy Bridgewater, and none of the 3 are going to be eligible, to be on the practice squad. So we've kind of got the depth chart pretty much set, regardless of what you think of it. Mitch will be that practice squad guy, that emergency guy. I don't know what you're going to find, for a practice squad quarterback. You're not going to find Russell Wilson, out there in free agency and put him on the practice squad. Okay, we're not signing Colin Kaepernick because we've already got our starter, our backup, and our emergency number 3 QB. So you're not going to sign Kaepernick. Like, this is strictly a emergency practice squad developmental signing. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff to get into, and you just tied into a couple of things. All the politics and whatever aside, the Colin Kaepernick situation is not going to happen because of money. He's going to ask for a lot of money. And whether you guys believe it or don't want to believe it or not, Case Keenum's a very, very good backup. It's so good that we'll give you a little insight coming from ESPN because, in my opinion, I think he's better than 2 or 3 of the starters in the league. But we nailed him as the backup for us, and that's a very good situation considering what happened last year, but we won't dwell on the past. And I'll keep going through with the quick hits, but we'll get into that later because I forgot to add this in the quick hits. So I'll show you something that I found on Instagram later. Cool. Moving along, Vikings also signed free agent running back Bronson Hill. He spent time with the Jaguars, the Bengals, the Bills, the Bears, the Dolphins, and the Saints. More running back depth.
There's a lot of teams. I think a lot of those where he bounced between the practice squad. So that's a lot of players do that, where you bounce between 4 or 5 different teams.
Yeah.
I don't know a thing about Bronson Hill.
I don't either.
Other than his name kind of sounds like Charles Bronson, and I'm a Charles Bronson fan. Yeah. So I will be a Bronson Hill fan for as long as he is a Minnesota Viking, I suppose.
Hey, you know what? It's just like the signing of Mitch Leidner. It's just another depth body. I don't see him making the 53 whatsoever. Maybe he'll make the practice squad. And this should come as no surprise to you guys if you didn't hear last week that I believe was it Bishop Sankey tore his ACL.
Yeah, he got waived, and he is on injured reserve, or however
So
that works for
I believe
low-level players. Yep.
I believe that if one running back goes down with a season-ending injury, you add another one in there just to have a body. Why not? Maybe he'll find his niche. Maybe he'll become a special teams player for us. Who knows? Maybe he'll be a practice squad body. That's my guess. But if you guys are wondering why we signed another running back, that would be the most educated guess that I can give to it as to why we signed him.
And, also it's even though Dalvin Cook is a rookie, I think Dalvin Cook has already proved and shown flashes of his potential. And so you're going to be looking at this third preseason game. He'll play a little bit, but then the fourth one, you're not going to see any of him. You're not going to see any of Jerick McKinnon. So you have to have running backs out there for that fourth preseason game. That's a little bit where you see some of these, like the quarterback and the running back signing, is kind of like, well, we have to force our way through this fourth terrible preseason game with just guys that will absolutely not make anyone's roster. We have to do that. We have to sit through Bronson Hill at running back for the Vikings.
In a weird all-around way, too. I don't think you'll get to see him play, but it's funny because you're going to get to see a lot of these guys on August 31st. It's a Thursday. That's the last preseason game. The Dolphins come to town in Minnesota, which is really funny because Jay Cutler comes back to the NFC North. Can't get away from us, which is funny. But you might get to see some of these guys get a little more action, definitely than you would during the regular season. So if you're like me and Kyle and Adam and you like to watch the guys that you're probably not going to hear about, that's going to be the perfect time to do it. But moving right along, head coach Mike Zimmer says he anticipates the entire team will be ready to play for the third preseason game. Now, this is good news. We've had guys like Alex Boone and Trey Waynes, just to name a few, some of our starters.
Treadwell.
We can go down the list. It's been one of those topics, like I was mentioning earlier, a lot of Vikings fans are irritated on the internet and letting it be known in the comments section, social media. And it's cool because if you guys don't already know, which a lot of you do, the third preseason game is where a lot of your starters get to play, and they play an extended amount of time because most of them aren't going to play in the fourth preseason game to save precaution for injury. And it's like last year. I think it was against the Chargers when Teddy had a really, really good game, and that was right before he unfortunately messed his knee up. But it's pretty good. I want to see our full team play. I don't want to see anyone get hurt in any way, shape, or form, and I want to see what they've got because – let's be honest, in these two games that we've seen in a very small sample size, they've been a little up and down, but they've shown some strides. So pretty excited about it.
Yeah, that third preseason game is the dress rehearsal, so it's nice to see that he's anticipating all of the team will be there and ready to play in it. So I'm as excited as I'm going to get for a preseason game for the coming third one here. I just realized I don't have the chat open, so I am getting that pulled up as we speak.
Yeah, Kyle will pull up the chat and I'll let you guys know. It'll feel like a real preseason game. The San Francisco 49ers come to town, and it's actually going to be on a Sunday. So I'm here in the Mountain Time Zone, which it'll be at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. So it feels like a Sunday night game, which is really cool. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to play against San Francisco. I think they have some good players. They had a pretty good draft. They have a brand new GM. But their quarterback situation is not really good. I want to see the Vikings play against the best. I'm not saying that we're going to run through them because we thought that 2 years ago in our home opener and we got destroyed. The season opener. And I would never put anything past any team on any given Sunday. But kind of bummed that we're playing against a rebuilding 49ers team. But football's football. It'll be on a Sunday. And like Kyle said, it's going to be the dress rehearsal. So.
You know what, though? Really quick, CJ Beathard, that I'm a big Iowa Hawkeye fan, and he was our quarterback for the Hawkeyes, and CJ Beathard is out there for the 49ers. And he's playing some pretty darn good football for them. So it'll be fun to to play against him as a 49ers. He's a quarterback to look for. He could maybe potentially end up being if he doesn't hit their practice squad, he could be like their third
the quarterback three.
I think so for sure.
It's funny how people on this podcast have their different teams and areas that they live in and support. Like, I'm from North Carolina. I never once in a million years thought Mitch Trubisky would go 2 overall and that he'd be any good, and he's lighting up the preseason now. So you got your Hawkeyes, I've got my Tar Heels, and they're everywhere, which is crazy. But I'm excited. So you guys check that out next Sunday. Like I said, 8 Eastern. We'll be doing the We'll try. I don't know if we'll get to it. We can decide that in the coming week, but we're going to try to do the podcast right after that game at some point in time.
Yep. Let's get caught up. I want to get caught up really quick on the chat. We got Johnny Green with us. He wants to know, should Mobo change position? I'm not sure. I don't think so. They've trying to develop him as a receiver. That would do him no good. Plus, I don't know what position he would change to.
I'm going to assume. Who is this in the chat? I'm sorry, I forgot it.
That was Johnny Green.
What's up, Johnny? Thanks for joining us, man. Johnny, I think if your mind is going where I think it is, and I'm just completely assuming here, so if I'm wrong, please forgive me, but I think you're thinking tight end because he's a big body. I don't think that's a good idea because I don't think he'd make the roster. I think he's got a very good chance versus being a tight end on the team as being a wide receiver. And his wide receiver chance is still a long shot because we have a lot of talented people there. I can see the idea, though. Like I said a couple of years back, actually a long time ago now, I said, why don't we use Joe Webb as a running back when he ended up going to wide receiver a long time ago. But if you're thinking about him going to be a tight end, you got to think about David Morgan. Well, we just signed Bucky Hodges. He just caught a touchdown pass this weekend. We're going to talk about that. We have a lot of talent there, and obviously nobody's going to unseat Kyle Rudolph because he's a franchise's leading tight end scorer in history for our beloved team. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere, man, but I like the outside-the-box thinking. I definitely think it was a cool idea.
The thing about Mobo, and I bring this up anytime possible, is that the Vikings really drafted him. I really don't know why they drafted him. They could have got him in free agency. But they brought this cat in under the idea of we're playing the long game with Bowinger. And that means that I think guys get 3 years that they can be on the practice squad, and then they have to be called up. He's only in year 2, so he's going back on the practice squad. Maybe, there's no given. Maybe they just don't like the way he's progressed and he could get cut. But ultimately, he's going back on the practice squad to get developed for another season before next year in 2018. Maybe you see a little glimpse of him. Honestly, I'm not expecting to see him play at all in preseason game 3, and I don't think you'll see him on preseason game 4 other than maybe some core special teams run down the field, try to make a tackle sort of thing.
That's pretty much it.
Yep. We also got Eric Grindall, who is always with us in the chat. Thank you. And Tommy Gunn. He says that you should come to Nashville to progress your music career and watch Vikings football.
Oh, my gosh. Tommy, if I wasn't tied down with Uncle Sam, I'm probably going to do 20 and make it a career. That's always been my niche, man. I would love to be a performing artist, and I would do the whole playing in a groungy, smoky bar for very, very little money to start out. I would eat that up because I did it for a long time. Shout out to my boys in Virginia and my old band Cheap Whiskey. I miss it. Well, we were just doing covers too, but if I could do my own stuff and start out doing covers, that'd be great. But I digress. I want to move along with these quick hits. I can feel Adam Carlson breathing down my neck saying, quick hits. I got you, Adam. So, next up, we have running back Latavius Murray. As you guys know, he hasn't played in a preseason game yet. He was still recovering. The Vikings knew that when we signed him, I believe it was ankle surgery, I believe. It was a foot rehab of some sort. But he says, and I quote, "I'm feeling really good. I was able to do a little bit more last week in practice, so I want to keep going on that trend and hopefully be better each day or feel better each day." Said, "I definitely like where I'm heading." Maybe it's just luck because I'm not good at a lot of things and right all the time, but I do think with the significant time that he's missed, Dalvin Cook's going to be our starting running back. It's not a slight against his talents because they're two different running backs. He's a little bigger. He's more of the downhill runner up the middle, and he'll smash in for some touchdowns. He'll be our new Matt Asiata. Probably, I would say he's better than Matt Asiata. So it's good. I'm ready to see it. I hope he plays this coming Sunday. If he does, I think it'll be in limited fashion. We're still going to see a lot of Dalvin Cook because, like we said, third preseason game's a dress rehearsal, and he's been doing damn good so far. But if Latavius Murray is on the trend upward, I'm excited, man. I've been excited since we signed him.
Murray is definitely on the trend upward, Dalvin Cook is on the trend upward. And, that kind of sucks for Latavius Murray because I don't think the Vikings were planning on drafting a running back as high as what they did when they signed him. I believe that Murray was signed to be the guy for Minnesota. Unfortunately, he is hurt, and sometimes life sucks when things like that happen. And Cook has came in, and he has progressed faster than I thought he would. I was expecting the Mike Zimmer route of he's the rookie. It's going to be week 4, week 5 until he gets into the rotation, a slow burn. I haven't liked what I've seen at all from Jerick McKinnon. That's been a disappointment. We'll get to kind of already talking running backs right now, but I haven't liked what I've seen from Jerick McKinnon. So he's hardly not a factor at this point. So I think that leaves Murray with a good, number 2 spot, but there's no reason why Cook, even though we've talked about how the Vikings are going to have a trio of running backs, there's no reason why Cook can't shoulder the bulk of this load for the Vikings. He looks like he's that kind of back that can do that.
Yeah, I believe so. I totally agree with everything you said. I won't spend too much time on it, but like I said, maybe I just got lucky, but I saw something special in the kid. He's Florida State's all-time leading rusher, and I believe scorer as well. But at least for yardage-wise, he's incredible. And you're right; he's only played a little bit in the preseason games, but he's definitely improved from week 1 to week 2. And it's more. I'm trying to save it because we want to talk about the team, and I don't want to give too much of the game away for people that haven't seen it yet. But yeah, he's definitely shown the flashes, man, and I do think he's going to be the centerpiece to help Sam Bradford out since we had the worst rushing attack in football last year. It's really exciting. But moving right along, I got one quick hit that we didn't have in there before we get started about this game between the Seahawks and the Vikings this weekend. So I got Instagram. If you guys want to follow me on there, it's SkateCow, SK8KOW. Not too much football stuff, more my personal life, but it's a lot of fun. A lot of work pictures with my dogs and stuff. But ESPN on Instagram, they build a team, and this is an article. Obviously, it's not real. It's a fictional, made-up team. But if they could make up a team full of the best players at each position based on today's salary cap, they went through, and there were 3 Minnesota Vikings that made the list, and I was very surprised that made the ones that made the list. Now, I'm not saying that I'm surprised because they're not good. I was just surprised because let's break it down first before I tell you who the players are and what positions. You got to remember about money. Now, you're going to hear a lot of names in these 3 positions that we filled out, and you're going to be like, man, that's crazy they got those people at that position, but a lot of these guys are on rookie deals. So without further ado, if I told you that a Minnesota Vikings quarterback made the list, a lot of you would be like, wow, really? So they have Tom Brady at $14 million. They have Dak Prescott as the backup at $636,000 because he was drafted, and he's a brand new rookie. And they have Case Keenum as the quarterback number 3 at $1.9 million. Now, I don't have the article in front of me. But
that's crazy. I never would have guessed that. Never.
I wouldn't have either, but I think it's a really, really cool concept, and I think it's a really fresh idea outside the box. So whoever wrote that article, shout out to you, man, because I had the screenshot too, but I didn't.
I actually like that quite a bit because then you can't just go, oh, well, Tom Brady is our starter and Aaron Rodgers is our backup, and
yeah, because
Andrew
right here
Luck is our QB3.
You guys can't see it, but I'll try to keep it on the screen. Right here, it says at the bottom, this is how much you spent right here, and here's how much you have left on the other side.
That's really cool.
$16.5 million spent on quarterbacks, $150.5 million left. They gave nothing but praise to Case Keenum in this article, saying about his QBR being really, really good, and he's done this and this throughout his career. So they picked this guy out, obviously based on salary, but even though he would be listed under Dak Prescott, whatever you want to say, he's a good quarterback, and if ESPN were to pick him on there and be a reliable backup, I'm going with it. The next thing we have up should be no surprise. Defensive end, our own Danielle Hunter made it. The starters, and this would just be absolutely terrifying to have to face this team. J.J. Watt comes in at number 1 with $14.1 million. Joey Bosa from the Chargers, $5.88 million. Danielle Hunter is listed at number 3, $793,000, drafted in 2015. Remember, he was in the 3rd round. And Yannick Ngui from Jacksonville, I'm sure I butchered his last name. I apologize, from the Jaguars at $819K. So another young and up-and-coming Viking that made this list. Now, the reason that he's on here now and he wouldn't be on there, I don't know, unless he just blows the league out of the water and is better than J.J. Watt, is because of the salary cap hit. But that should tell you what a good job Rick Spielman did with some of these players, because Danielle Hunter's an absolute steal, and he's been very, very well coached, and I'm really excited for him on there. But Danielle Hunter made the list at defensive end. So if you guys know where this is going, we got somebody in there at defensive tackle. Like I said, this would be a scary team. So let's talk about the defensive tackles they picked out. Aaron Donald from the Rams, excuse me. Best defensive tackle in football. They have him at $3.25 million because he's still technically on a rookie deal. That's why he's holding out, in case you guys didn't know. Brandon Williams from Baltimore, $6 million vet deal. Tom Johnson from Minnesota, $2.35 million. And then Pat Sims from the Bengals. They only spent $12.7 million on the D tackle position. But we've said it on the show a million times, and I think this just boasts I would say it boasts our knowledge a little bit. But if you can look a little bit further into football minus quarterbacks and touchdowns, we've been saying for years that Tom Johnson be a starter on any other team. And, yeah, he's in there at $2.35 million for the vet portion on there because he's not number 1 or number 2. He's actually the 3rd defensive tackle listed. But I thought that was really cool and outside the box, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. Anytime the Vikings get love from another outlet, I had to share it with you.
I like seeing them incorporate the salary cap into that. That makes it fun.
Yeah, it's like
that's a fun way to do it. Yeah,
something new and fresh. Like, you know, everybody can make up a fantasy football team, but when you got to restrict it there, you really have to pick and choose based on value. And you can see with guys like Tom Johnson and Danielle Hunter, the value you get, even Case Keenum, the value you get at him at the position with the price. But moving along, let's talk about this game that happened. So preseason week 2 has wrapped up. The Vikings traveled to CenturyLink Field in Seattle. I hate playing the Seahawks. Every time we play them, it feels like we can't win. I don't think we beat them since Brett Favre was in town, whether they've been in our house or, you know, we go to theirs. But the Seahawks defeated the Vikings 20-13 in week 2 of the preseason. First team looked a little bit better than they did against the Bills. And I'm not going to lie to you. I was very, very excited for a number of players. I was very excited out of the play of Mr. Dalvin Cook, as we talked earlier. I was very excited with Stephon Diggs. Yet again, we talked about Danielle Hunter just a couple seconds ago. Danielle Hunter to Sean Bauer, which we talk about him. And, God, it was awesome, man. I got to watch half of the game. It seems like I had bad luck this year. The power went out at my place, so I didn't get to finish it. Otherwise, we would have done it Friday right after the show, or right after the game, excuse me. But, yeah, what did you think of the game, man? I think things improved a little bit from Buffalo, which is definitely what we wanted to see.
Well, I thought there was an improvement on the offensive side of the ball. We still have that issues on third down, and then stalling. It's frustrating to watch this team continue to stall when they get into the red zone and have to settle for touchdowns. They need to figure that out. They're flat out, they need to figure out that red zone. But Sam Bradford, I thought, looked good. Stephon Diggs continues to shine. He is just going to have a monster season. If he can stay healthy, Diggs is just going to do good things for this team. I thought that the first string defense looked flat. I don't know what it was about them, but they never really seemed in sync to me. And yeah. I'm starting to get a little worried, and this is actually our social media question, about Terrence Newman. The ageless wonder who's been playing at a high level for a long time. You are seeing other teams' quarterback key in on him, and they're doing a lot of picking on Terrence Newman when he's on the field. And he's not quite stepping up the way he's been previously. And I'm wondering if that's going to be a trend throughout the season. Now, hopefully, Trey Waynes gets back, gets healthy, and can take the bulk of the start out there so that you don't have to rely on Terrence Newman. But if you do, that looks like he could potentially be a weak spot for the Vikings coming into 2017 season.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. We all know that Terrence Newman's fighting against Father Time, but he had a crazy good season last year, and I think partially because the defense was so in sync, so it made his job a lot easier. I wouldn't expect the same production as last year from him just because of his age, and it's not a slight against him. You can't help that you get older every year. But yeah, I feel the same way, man. I think his production will go down. I think Trey Waynes' role will increase this year. He might even be the starter and have Newman come in, on third and whatever, or just to give Trey a break. So we'll see. But before we get into talking stats and everything else, let's go ahead and talk about game ball and donkeys. I want to give a shout out to, and I'm going to ask Adam while we're on here, do you have a game ball or a donkey?
I was just looking at the tweet that he sent to us. This has nothing to do with the Vikings, but
I
it's
was laughing
amazing.
at that.
It's amazing and funny. Okay, so you guys know that the Bills just signed Anquan Bolden. He literally left camp and told the team that he's retiring. Holy crap! That's like the most. That's just some bad luck Bills right there for you.
I don't know how much faith you don't have to have in someone, especially when your star young wide receiver just got traded to the Rams. So now you would have the chance to be the vet to step up, but he must not like it there.
I gotta mute my phone. Jesus, what am I doing?
It's all good. That's Adam hitting us up there, and he's getting back to me right now. So we'll see if he'll give us a game ball and donkey. But let's start with we added one of our good buddies to the list today, Tommy Gunn. He says the game ball goes to the attempted 2-minute offense with Heineke and Hodges. I haven't seen that kind of hustle since the Cowboys game. Quite a nice change from the offense we've seen the last few years. And we'll get into the donkeys later. But I can't argue with that, man. I love those situations. So
I like it. And you got to remember, too, that the Vikings don't want to tip their hat for what they're actually going to be doing on offense this season. So a lot of that, just because Bradford hasn't run a 2-minute, doesn't mean they're not going to. Like, I'm sure that they have all kinds of cool stuff planned for him as well.
Adam Carlson chimed in for me. He says his game ball goes to Pat Elflein. So anytime you can give offensive line players some love, we love that. And Adam will be the guy on this show to help you out there. But we've heard nothing but good things about Pat Elflein this offseason and going into the season. So I'm really excited because he seems like he might be a cornerstone for the line for a long time. And well-deserved. You got some love from our offensive line lover. Who did you give your game ball to, Kyle?
Jaleel Johnson. You're talking about rookies and also another former Iowa Hawkeye, I'm proud to say, Jaleel Johnson. There's one thing we know in Iowa. It's we breed offense and defensive linemen. They just come from Iowa, and then they play in the league for 10 years and just do amazing at it. Jaleel Johnson, and I had wrote a small little opinion piece over on our Facebook page. You're looking at him and Tashawn Bauer, who have just two rookies who have absolutely outplayed the veterans who, when we did our mock 53, I had both of the veterans making the roster. But, as soon as the pads got on, Will Sutton from the Bears, and who was the other, the one that we got from Green Bay?
Dante Jones or
Dayton Jones. Yeah, both of those guys have got absolutely outplayed by Jaleel Johnson and Tashawn Bauer, to the point that the rookies are going to make the roster and the veterans are going to be cut because we don't need them. Jaleel Johnson looked like an absolute monster out there. And yeah, I know it's against, third and fourth string talent, but I've always said that if you're an NFL player, if you're worth a shit, when you're out there against guys who are not going to make the team, you should pancake them, and you should look like a stud. And Jaleel Johnson looked like a stud for the Vikings. So he is my game ball for the week.
I like it, man. And you're absolutely right. He's had nothing but high praise, and he's taken advantage of this opportunity. And who knows, maybe he'll be way low on the depth chart. But
you can't put him or Tashawn Bauer on the practice squad.
No, because somebody else is stealing. And I feel like they give us a better chance than some of the other guys, which is surprising, but a good surprise. Mm-hmm. My game ball goes to Mr. Stephon Diggs. Playing against Richard Sherman for the drives that he was in there, taking a big hit from Earl Thomas and getting up and dropping the ball in his face because he got a first down. Like you said earlier, not much needs an introduction when it comes to Stephon Diggs. He's been working his ass off in the offseason. From what I could see on social media, now who am I? I'm just an average fan, but I followed him on social media. He's always putting in work. He's always working late. And just seeing him work, arguably the best corner we've seen in a while, it's something to get excited about, man, because he's going to be a top target for Bradford. And if he can get open against that defense, especially playing against Richard Sherman, there should be a good sign of things to come. So, Stephon Diggs, man, you get love from me this week. I liked what I saw in the limited amount of time I saw you on the field.
Yeah, for everyone saying, oh, Sam Bradford can't throw the ball more than 5 yards. Boy, oh boy, that ball came out quick and was right on target when he hit Stephon Diggs with that. I mean, that was like the old, you know how Brett Favre used to throw it really super hard and like accurate? Not saying that, you know, Bradford is a gunslinger like Favre or whatever, but man, oh man, that had a little bit of mustard behind that one. Like, he can throw it when it's there. You just got to give him time.
Absolutely can. I don't question Sam Bradford's accuracy. I just think it's just like any other quarterback. If you can get him a decent team and keep him upright, he'll do some good things. So on the backside of that, let me go through the guys that aren't here and let you know what they said. Mr. Tommy Gunn said his donkey goes to the red zone offense. Not even in the preseason can we see the offense open up and take shots down the field. I totally understand the frustration there, man. I'd like to see him take more shots. Hopefully we'll see it in the season, but at the same time, hopefully we see it in the season and we have a lot of success with it. So you guys know, and not a shot against Tommy or anything like that. We're not going to expose too much of our playbook, but yeah, I would like to see some more shots down the field. I can't argue with that. And Mr. Adam Carlson says his donkey goes to any kick returner not named Marcus Sherrill. So yeah, definitely a lot of frustrations there. When it comes to kick returning, we're going to struggle without Cordero there because it's the one thing that he did good. So
someone asked Mike Zimmer in his press conference, I think it was yesterday. Yesterday or today, I don't remember, about that and about if the team would look outside of who they have on the roster to bring in someone for that kick return position. And he brushed it off really super quick. And I'm just going to read between the lines and say, based on how fast he brushed it off and didn't want to answer, that is 100% something that they have discussed at this point. I don't know. Jerick McKinnon looked awful, just awful when he returned it. I don't want to see him ever return another kick. You talk about putting the offense in a terrible position. And then any of the other rotation and receivers they've had back there, nobody can seem to catch it. Nobody can seem to do anything right. So what's Devin Hester doing? Can we just sign Devin Hester?
I'm not even kidding. I'll be all for that.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Kick returners. I'm not a coach. I'm not a player. I'm just a bum. Talking about you guys on my computer right now. But let the ball go to the back of the end zone and get it to the 25 to start. Just do it.
Please.
I'm okay
stop.
with that. I'm okay with that, please.
I beg of you, don't give this offensive line, which is better than what it was, but we're still not the Dallas Cowboys. Don't force Sam Bradford on this offensive line on like the 10-yard line every time they get the ball. That's just you're just asking for this team to fail when you put them in that situation.
Speaking of failing, who was your donkey this week?
I didn't even have to change mine. Mine is a twofer. Taylor Heineke. Talk about being just not impressed. Just not impressive. Taylor Heineke, again, I don't know if it's rust. I don't know if it's jitters. Even though he's had a couple touchdowns, I've just not been impressed with him at all. You're looking at a guy who at one point you were saying, hey, man, he could be a solid number 2 backup for this team with potential, like, trade bait for the Cleveland Browns or whoever.
That would be amazing.
No, he barely looks like a serviceable third string to me. I'm just not liking what I've seen from Taylor.
We'll have to get more into that when we talk about like stats and whatever, because I'm looking at the stats here, and he was 6 of 9. 94 overall rating, 84 yards, 9.3 average, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So I want to get your thoughts because, like I said, I didn't have access to watch the game pretty much from the second half. I'm sorry, from the second part of the game, from the third quarter on, because I lost power. So sorry to hear about that, but damn, that's.
Oh, I think you just dropped from the chat. Well, hey, this is a first for the podcast. I'm now officially the only one on here. So let's move on and hope that Mr. Smith will join us here soon. And let's talk about the quarterbacks. Like you said, Sam Bradford went 7 for 11 for 95 yards. I thought that Sam actually looked pretty good for the team. Again, the stall in the red zone is not something that I want to see happen. They really need to, if you're going to be better than if you're going to be better than good, you have to be able to capitalize in the red zone on a consistent basis. If this team just wants to settle at being a good team, and if they're fine with that, then you kick all the field goals you want. My point is that they have to improve in their red zone accuracy. Taylor Heineke went 6 for 9, 84 yards, 1 for 1, 1 TD, 1 interception. I thought it was an absolutely terrible performance, again, from Taylor Heineke. I know he had the touchdown, but he looks lost to me when he's on the field. You're seeing him overthrow receivers, generally not make decisions. He's tucking and running way too much. I know he had the touchdown, but I think that the touchdown came more from the play of David Morgan, who, hey, welcome back.
Wow, I was just blabbering away. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, I was just talking about David Morgan and Taylor Heineke. I know you didn't. I know that your game cut out before that, but I was talking about how the touchdown that Taylor Heineke had was more on the play of David Morgan, in my opinion, than what it was on Taylor Heineke. I think David Morgan is going to be something special for this team.
I'm excited for him as well. I like those players that like to do the dirty work, and I don't think that he has a problem doing the dirty work because Kyle Rudolph's going to get the majority of the targets at tight end. He's proven there. He's earned the money that he's been given. So, yeah, I think I'm excited for David Morgan. I didn't get to see a lot from him recently, but I'm going to be trying to pay attention as much as I can come Sunday for this next game coming up. Not sure where I cut off at last. I was ripping Blair Walsh and Earl Thomas, so –
well, you were gone. I'll fill in really quick. I talked a bit about Sam Bradford and Taylor Heineke, and then Case Keenum, I think, continues to separate himself by a large margin from Taylor Heineke. I think he's a good, solid number 2 backup behind Sam Bradford. Really quick, what did you think of Sam's performance and the starters out there?
I liked it, man. Here's the thing. So we were talking earlier about the return game and pretty much anything for special teams. Not too worried about the kicker situation. Don't know a lot about the punting situation. Kick return and punt returner, we're going to take a big dip from what we're used to. Now, the good thing is we still have our punt returner, Marcus Sherrills. Maybe he'll do kick returns as well. That's my prediction. That's what's going to happen. But the thing that we sucked at last year was protecting Sam Bradford and running the ball. Those have improved. Without a doubt, they have improved. Now, I'm not going to tell you that they're going to change your life, and we're going to be, the Packers or the Patriots or the Falcons, that kind of high-powered offense. But we have improved. We've got better players there, and hopefully they'll stay healthy and we'll be fine. The thing that I've noticed from Buffalo to Seattle now that we've got 2 of these down, is our run blocking has improved a lot. And what we couldn't do with Adrian Peterson out of the shotgun so much, Dalvin Cook can do it without a doubt. And actually, Tommy Gunn talked about that, and I'll bring that up when we talk about the social media question later. But, yeah, I'm really, really excited from what I see because we're going to have somewhat of a running game. And if we can get the other 2 guys on board, those being Jet and Latavius Murray, with Dalvin Cook in there, we can just kind of interchange pieces and we can do what we want. And Bradford should have a pretty good year. That's for the offense. I think our wide receivers look fine. I think Rudy's going to do fine. I like it. I think our offense is gonna improve from last year, and that's definitely something that Mike Zimmer has addressed many times.
Mm-hmm. I have to correct myself really quick. It was Bucky Hodges who got the touchdown for the Vikings. I don't know why I said David Morgan. I don't know what I was thinking on that.
I'm excited for both. I'm excited for both.
Hodges. Yep.
About the only highlight from what you're telling me, because Taylor Heineke kind of had a wild game. About the only highlight there. But speaking of, we can talk about it. We'll go down the list real quick of rushing and receiving. Dalvin Cook led rushing with 7 carries on 40 yards. He averaged 5.7. His longest run was 15. Taylor Heineke and C.J. Ham both had 3 carries. Taylor Heineke had 25 yards. C.J. Ham had 8. And then we have a couple here, Sam Bradford, Jerick McKinnon, to name a few, 1 carry.
Sam Bradford rushing, let me tell you one thing I never want to see.
It's like when Tom Brady rushes. He's tall, he's lanky, and I'm just fearing for his life when I see him take off. I trust him because he knows how to slide, which is nice.
Oh, he has no speed, and it's amazing to watch him. I'm like, would you just please get to the side? Just please get to the sideline.
So there were 25 total receptions for any eligible receiver that we have, which is really good. Let's go and let's put these in order of receptions. Can I do that on here? No, you can't. So Rodney Adams and Stephon Diggs both had 4 receptions. Stephon Diggs had a 65 total yards for the day. His longest was 39, which was awesome. He averaged 16.3. Bucky Hodges had 2 receptions for 54 yards. His longest was 33, and he hauled in a touchdown. If we keep going down the list, we see Jarius Wright with 3 catches. Stacey Coley and Michael Floyd had 2 grabs apiece for 16 and 17 yards. A lot of one reception targets, but I love it. The ball's getting spread around by all of our quarterbacks. So shout out to our receiving core.
This is one of those times where I think stats lie a little bit because you look at Rodney Adams. He's got more receptions for more yards than what Stacey Cooley did. But I think that Stacey is overall having the better preseason. He was one of my players that I have trending upwards on this team. In the little thingy thing that I wrote over on the Purple People Podcast Facebook page, Rodney Adams, a lot of improvement still needs to happen from him. He's looking more and more, in my opinion anyway, like a player that needs to spend some time on the practice squad. Develop.
Yeah, it seems to be that way, which is sad because he had a lot of hype going into camp, but we'll see how that turns out. I still have him making the list, but maybe not if he has a bad game against San Francisco and Miami.
See, I had him making the 53 based on his ability to be Cordero Patterson 2.0. Maybe not as explosive or whatever, but I thought he would be able to come in and just be that special teams guy. And he's been having issues holding on to the ball in special team situations. And that's not...
That's too much of a liability.
Yep. And we're stacked enough at wide receiver that we don't really need you to play wide receiver right now for us. We need someone to step up and be that kick return guy for us, and no one is really doing that.
So we'll keep going down the list. There were some fumbles, and speaking of Rodney Adams, I hate to keep bringing him up in the negative light. He lost a fumble, and let's see what this guy's name is. One of our linebackers. I want to say Eric. Yeah, Eric Wilson, number 50, had a fumble recovery. So that's where we were in the turnover department. And obviously we had a more negative than positive there because Eric Wilson recovered a fumble. Rodney Adams lost a fumble, and we had the interception from Taylor Heineke. So I'm sure that was a fun conversation with Mike Zimmer from the team. Oh, God. I can't say this guy's name to save my life. Ifedi Odenigbo.
Hey, you did a better job than I would have.
He had 6 total tackles. Jaleel Johnson and Ben Gideon and Edmund Robinson all had 5. Jaleel Johnson had 4 solo tackles. We keep going down the list. Tashawn Bauer, Terrence Newman, Anton Exum, Emmanuel Demore, J-Ron Curse all had 4. I'd keep going down the list, but let's look at the sacks here. Danielle Hunter had an impressive sack, and this is another reason why a lot of people won't give him credit. And, it's preseason, whatever. But he sacked Russell Wilson because he just manhandled the right tackle. Like, just manhandled him. Danielle Hunter is a physical freak. And, yeah, he took Russell Wilson down pretty hard. And Mr. Odenigbo had a sack as well and a tackle for loss. So some little bright spots there on the defense from some of the guys who stepped up. But, you guys, I think it's on Vikings.com. I'm pretty sure it's on there. You can look and see it, the sack that I'm talking about from Danielle Hunter.
Danielle Hunter, I don't care what season, what time of year it is, anytime you can get to Russell Wilson, you're doing good. You're doing good things.
Yep.
There's never a point in time where any quarterback, when he gets hit, I don't care if it's preseason, he's out there trying to not take that hit, and he's an elusive guy. Danielle Hunter, boy, he's a good player for this team.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the gems and the steals that we've had. So, overall, my overall impressions of the game, like we said, not where we want to be, but definitely an improvement from against the Bills. Everything looks shaky. I want to tell any fan out there that's getting that upset over a preseason game, relax, okay? Pull an Aaron Rodgers and relax. Let these guys figure it out. As me and Kyle have said, this is the 3rd time on the show total that we've said this. You're not going to reveal the whole playbook. You're not going to reveal the defensive looks, the offensive schemes. You're not going to do that. So it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little bit faster pace once we open up against New Orleans on September 11th. But Give these guys time to figure it out. Trust the process. Trust Mike Zimmer. We'll get this figured out. And let's get our guys healthy. We still have like 2.5 weeks till the first game. So
let's talk about what the people inevitably want us to talk about, Mr. Smith.
Let's do it.
Blair Walsh hitting the field goals and pointing and taunting over the sidelines.
This is where I went when I lost my connection earlier, and I apologize for that. So he and Earl Thomas got my donkey. Now, I know you covered for me and talked about Taylor Heineke and the quarterbacks while I was out, but I ripped Blair Walsh a new ass, and I'll do it again. Blair, you won the Seattle Seahawks a game, 2 seasons ago, and you played for our team. Now, I understand, and I won't give you half that credit because I'll give you the half credit. I'm sorry I said that backwards. You scored the only points we had in that game. You scored 3 field goals, and nothing was said from Adrian Peterson, who lost a fumble. Teddy Bridgewater wasn't that good. It was cold as hell outside. We know it. We know it was super cold that day. But you lost the chip shot field goal for us. I don't care that you can make a 52-yard field goal. You hit like 10 or 11 of those at your rookie year. You can't hit a 27-yard chip shot field goal, and you lose the game for us. And then you want to come over a whole season later because you started out on the team and you kept missing field goals. By the way, none of us missed those field goals. You did. And you want to point your finger and taunt at us because you joined Vikings West? That's cool, man. That's good for you. I hope you feel better because you sucked so bad while you were with us that we had to get rid of you. And then you want to blame it like it's our fault. And Earl Thomas, you can just eat a bag of you-know-what, too, because you take a shot on Stephon Diggs, and it was an illegal hit, which is cool. And then you get over him like you're going to taunt him. He caught the ball, and he got the first down on you, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Both of these guys taunting our team, you know what? That's cool. If that makes you feel better, that's fine. But just know, Blair, you still missed a field goal in the preseason, so the trend is still going. Congratulations. And Earl Thomas, if the guy catches the ball, you don't knock the ball out of his hand and he gets a first down, probably not the best time to taunt him. Just not very smart, man.
Tommy said that we should read the comments on the Blair Walsh post that we put up in our Facebook groups. I don't know if you have the Facebook.
I do. I'm actually going to go over that right now. Let's scroll up. Well, I'm going to give my guys a shout out first of all. We can keep it for this game because it's tied in. But let's read some of these comments. The pint-sized troglodyte needs to get out. Oh, I can't say that. Get out. You were given a handsome extension and you failed to deliver. You missed a playoff game-winning score. You let your teammates down with every kick that you missed when you got cut just because of your actions. Way to go, Tommy Gunn. Way to rip into Blair Walsh. Like, don't have a personal vendetta almost a year later because it's all your fault. He says, let me know when he hits one in a real game. That's very fair. Justin Weber says he makes one preseason field goal and somehow he forgets he whiffed the biggest field goal of his career in a Vikings uniform. Sit down, Walsh. You're terrible. Not that he – yeah, there you go. Thomas Buse taking the words right out of my mouth. Not that he can't make the long ones. It's the short ones in critical situations that he can't make. I think it's a mental thing, man. I feel bad for him. It's kind of like obviously he's no Tiger Woods in his position or in his sport, but Tiger Woods, I don't think it was so much the physical injuries. I think it's a lot of mental game and he couldn't get back on. Eric Grendall calls him Blair Baggins, 27 yards, bro. I saw hundreds of fans nail that kick after he epically shanked in the playoff.
Yeah, hold on a minute. I want to say one thing about that. There is a 100% difference between I'm walking onto the high school football field or wherever and just like kicking a 23-yard field goal versus a potentially game-winning field goal.
By the way, it was like, what, -5 outside?
Yeah, surrounded by offense and defense and people screaming at you and fans, and I realize that's what they get paid for. But it's a hell of a lot more difficult set of circumstances.
Yeah, it's a very stressful situation.
To be fair.
I don't know, man. I couldn't believe that he did that. I thought we were past that. Like, it's a business. But apparently he's got a vendetta. Good for you, Blair Walsh. I hope you feel better.
I hope everyone's got it out of their system. I don't think we play the Seahawks in the regular season.
I like how he bitched out, too, afterwards and said he was pointing to the fans, but to the players when he's clearly pointing to Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer's pushing 70. He'll come out there and whoop your ass. Blair Walsh.
Mike Zimmer will.
I would calm down about that.
Mike Zimmer will cut you in the back alley. Like, don't. Don't.
I'll cut him. And we're like, with a knife? Mike, calm down.
Yes, he will cut Blair Walsh. Literally cut Blair Walsh. I'm officially tired of talking about Blair Walsh. I hope that this subject never comes up ever again. Like, it's whatever.
Good luck to you, Blair Walsh. That was a douchey thing of you to do, and I've never seen you do anything like that while you're in a Vikings uniform. So go embarrass the Seahawks and do your shenanigans. That's fine.
You know what? I love it when wide receivers are, be a little cocky, or running backs or defensive backs.
Yeah.
When you get into punters and kickers doing this kind of shit, it's like, no.
Yeah, you're not Pat from the Colts. I think he retired or something, but he's doing the Conor McGregor walk. Now, that was funny. But
Yeah.
don't run your mouth, man. Like you're famous. You're famous for shanking a field goal for us, bro. Like I don't know what to say.
I mean, there's a few kickers that are,
And we stuck by him. Even after that, we stuck by him last year halfway through until he missed like 5 field goals and some extra points. We're like, bro, you got to go.
You just have to go. Yeah.
Whatever. You did that to yourself. Not sorry. Moving along, let's talk about the social media questions so we can do some fan interaction from last week. So last week, not talking about preseason game 1, we asked what were your thoughts on preseason game 1 against the Bills, not game 2 that we're covering now. So I just wanted to see. We had 4 people comment, and they were really, really good. Chaz Green says, that O-line. Yeah, the O-line still got to make some improvements, but I'm going to be happy when all 5 of our starters are out there. And if they have to take time when it doesn't count in the preseason, I would love them to get the reps. But as long as they can get healthy for the regular season, that's fine. Eric Grindal says, I'm impressed with Adams and Coley from that game. Glad they got to learn from Diggs and not CPAT. Ooh, not a CPAT there. Dalvin Cook fits perfectly in the shotgun offense. Said that earlier. Happy we extended vets 29, 97, and 98. Dropped the selfish and overpaid hungry young talent. Sorry about that, guys. So drop the selfish and overpaid and we're hungry for young talent. He gives the skull to Zimmer and the coaches. So, yeah, that's cool, man. Thank you, Eric Grindal. Paul Gruber, haven't heard from you in a minute, so this is a pretty good shout-out, and I want to end with our boy Tommy Gunn. So let's talk from Paul Gruber's comments. First team offense and defense were a bit disappointing, but there's still time for corrections. Oh, my God, there's a fan with logic. That's fine. I love you, Paul. Thank you for saying that. Great depth on the D-line. Here's an interesting point, and this is why I want to read his comment. Might be a good option to trade one of them rather than cut later for a good offensive lineman. Buffalo announcers were annoying, constantly saying the Vikings run complicated offensive plays and bring big defensive pressure just to win preseason games. I wish I could have listened to K-Fan, but go Vikes. I like that, Paul. That could definitely be a social media question, possibly. Would you be okay with cutting one of our good defensive linemen, not starters, obviously, maybe for depth, for maybe like a 3rd or 4th round pick, or for another player? Not a bad one, Paul. We might actually use that. I'll keep that in the cookie jar. And our boy Tommy Gunn. Tommy, this was super long, so I can't read all of it. But seriously, man, many questions remain from last year. He says, is the 20th ranked run defense improved? Not really, maybe. Pass protection above bottom of the league? Probably not. Is there a legitimate run game? Not really. That's the only one I could question with. I can't say you're wrong on because we haven't seen it yet, but I think it's going to be improved from dead last. Do we have assurance that the linebacking corps will be able to cover tight ends better? Not really, he says. He said, hey, I can hear the cries of the fans now. It's preseason. How dare you draw such a negative conclusion? It's like, yeah, I know, I get it. But what I saw out there was not a great showing by the first team during the Buffalo Bills game. And you got to address the issues that plagued the team last year. But he said to end on some positivity, he said, can Dalvin Cook work seamlessly out of the pistol and the shotgun? Absolutely. Is he capable of falling forward at the end of runs despite his size? Yes. And has the offensive line markedly improved run blocking? Yes. So thank you for Tommy Gunn, and as he says, keeping it real and keeping it classy. Mm-hmm. Thanks for all you guys' in-depth interactions. There were only 4 comments, but I got to talk for about 2 minutes on it. I agree with most everything that everyone said there, and I like the interesting comment from Paul, so we might actually use that as a social media question for later.
I got a good comment here in the chat from Tommy Gunn. We can do a quick opinion on both of us on this one. He wants to know, is Alex Boone good or just a loudmouth? I'm waiting for him to be dominant, but it's not happening. He loves to talk. He reminds me of Jared Allen, just in the way he trash talks, and he's very funny, and he's a definite loudmouth. And I don't think, so far, he is as good as what he says he is.
Right.
I'm waiting for that as well. I am waiting for him to be dominant. I thought that him being a better player should have improved like Matt Khalil last season for the team. Didn't really happen. I'm waiting for him to improve the talent around him on this line, and I'm not seeing that from him. So yeah, he needs to be dominant. And yeah, it's funny to hear him come out and say F the Packers and all the other things that he does. That's great. That's great. But we don't need you to be a character. We don't need you to be entertaining. We need you to be a dominant offensive lineman for this team. So I hope that he can do that in 2017.
I'm going to go the opposite of you, man. I like what I've seen from him, but I do agree that he needs to be better. He needs to be more for the value that we want out of him. We know he can play at, but I like his attitude, man. I think he doesn't play exactly like Jared Allen did on the D-line, but I think he's the Jared Allen of the O-line. I love his patriotism. I love his ability to just want to go out and play all the time and just smash people on the ground. Yeah, I want him to improve a little bit more, but I think he brings a bit of pride to this team that we need, especially when you have those grinders in the offensive linemen. And I'll go with err on the side of caution and say it's only year 2 for him on this team, even though he is a veteran. So let's see what he can do and give him another chance this year, because last year he couldn't have been put into a more shitty situation as far as the line goes. So we'll see. Keep that in your mind for the YouTube commenters of him not being as well. The whole line was terrible last year. 29th out of 32 overall. So give him this year to see if they can figure it out, and then we can start hitting the panic button. Because last year was almost like a fluke, man, with all the injuries we had everywhere. So we were kind of on the chopping block, kind of plagued from the beginning. So we'll see. I like Alex Boone. I think we could have much worse players there, characteristically and just athletically as players. So we'll see. But my wish came true from my notes last week. I said the Vikings need to lose a preseason game. Despite playing better all around, minus 1 or 2 players, I think we improved as a team. You had a quote in the chat, too, if you would like to read that out loud, because I laughed really, really, really hard from Mike Zimmer. You remember the quote that you said earlier?
Oh, I do. What was it?
I'll pull it up from the chat.
I can get it here on my phone.
You said he gave it to us. A reporter asked, "Did you see how Baldwin got so open on that 3rd down?" And Mike Zimmer goes, "Yeah, we didn't cover him."
That's like every week. I love Mike Zimmer's press conferences.
He's like the poor man's Bill Belichick during these interviews. He hates talking to the media, and I love how much he hates it. And just he gives them the business every single time. And I think he's made that clear going into his 4th year here. He's like, "Look, I hate doing this. I'm never going to like it. So if you guys don't feed me something worth talking about, I'm going to burn you every time." And I love it.
And it's always that idiot, Chris Tomlinson. We talk about that. We make fun of him in the chat.
Chris Tomlinson, we hate you, and so does every other Vikings fan, because you look for the worst articles and any way you can trash the Vikings. I think you're an undercover double agent for the Packers for how much shit you talk about us.
I hate the shit where he shows up late. Like it'll be 5 minutes into a player talking, on the field to a bunch of other reporters. He will have already answered everything that Chris Tomlinson is going to ask, and he'll show up 5 minutes late and just, okay, let me ask you everything that you've already just said, because I was not here, so now you have to just say everything again for me.
Yeah, because I was out getting a pretzel at the freaking hot dog stand, and
yeah,
it's like, whatever, man. We loathe him here on the show. He is just he's not liked by any of us here on the show, so I'll keep it nice. Whatever. But I think that wraps it up, man. If you have anything else, you can throw it out now, but if not,
next week's social media question is going to be, are you worried about the durability of Terrence Newman or the possibility of him showing his age in 2017? So you can answer that on our Facebook page and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Facebook.com/Purple People Podcast. Thank you to everyone who tunes in and listens to this, whether you're doing it now, to our awesome fans in the chat. or whether you listen to it later this week, stop by, go to youtube.com/Purple People Podcast. It's right here in my tagline. Check that out. Give us a like on YouTube. You'll get notifications when we start the show, so you can participate in the chat like our guys have been doing. If you're on Twitter, we're twitter.com/Purple People Pod. Me and Kyle run that side of it. Mr. Adam Carlson, Kyle West, and myself all interact on the Facebook page. But, yeah, we just want to say thanks, man. We're almost here. September 11th is coming soon. We got 2 more preseason games to go. Like I said earlier, the next game that we're going to cover is preseason game number 3, a.k.a. the dress rehearsal. First home game, even though it's preseason, of this coming up season. And we host the San Francisco 49ers Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you don't know, now you know, and you can tune in. But interact with us on all these platforms. And I've got nothing else. So appreciate everything you guys are doing. And we'll see you next week. Stay classy, Minnesota.